would like to bring to order the regular council meeting for December 10th, 2018. Roll call, please, Mr. Lauer.
Mrs. Merrill will be absent tonight. Mr. Steigel?
Present.
Mr. Arcuri?
Here.
Mr. Berquist?
Here.
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Present.
Mr. Kozer?
Here.
All right, can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda is approval of several minutes. The first is the transcript of the public hearing held on November 12th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Anybody have any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. I don't think I was I here that night?
No, you were absent that night, Jim.
No. So I'm not voting, so that would be 501. Next is approval of the transcript of public hearing held on November 26, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Abstain.
That would be 501. And then finally, under approval of minutes, approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 26, 2018.
Moved. Second.
Anyone else have anything to discuss? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Abstain.
And that is 501. Next is special reports, of which there are none. So we can jump to the next item on the agenda, which is audience comments. This is limited to 5 minutes, an opportunity for anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak on a non-agenda item. Since no one's rushing to the podium, I'm going to say we're going to move on to unfinished business, which is also none. Next is new business, and the first item is award of a bid for body-worn cameras to Axon Enterprises under the CoStar purchasing program.
So as council's aware, we have been under a one-year trial period for body-worn cameras in the police department. They've shown themselves to be of value. We are proposing to enter into a 5-year contract with Axon Enterprises under which they will provide, maintain, and replace that hardware. This purchase is being done under the CoStar program. As part of the 2019 budget, funds have been appropriated for the purchase of these cameras. And so it's my recommendation that council authorize the 5-year contract.
And just to reiterate, we've been using now for
an entire year.
1 year?
Yeah, the equipment and the software has proven to be reliable. It's already helped us in a couple of cases where police officers and the people they interact with have different recollections about what happened.
And again, this is a budget item.
Yes.
And as an aside, I spoke to the chief recently and I asked him about these. He said they're crystal clear. The footage, everything is excellent on them.
Okay.
I move that we authorize appropriate officials to enter into a 5-year contract in the amount of $76,890 with CoStar's program for Axon Enterprises to provide and maintain body cameras for the use of the Peters Township Police Department.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That is 620. Finally, under new business, discussion concerning the creation of a one-way traffic pattern on Barnett Street, which is over in the so-called Hackett area of
Yes.
Peters Township.
Yes. So one of the items on the Planning Commission's agenda this month is a consideration of the Westbury Plan. The Westbury Plan is located in the vicinity of Barnett Street, and that plan will eventually be coming to council with recommendations from the Planning Commission. But prior to it being reviewed by the Planning Commission, Ed and I both thought it was important that the council have an opportunity to have some input with regard to access off of Barnett Street. Barnett Street's located off of Venetia Road, and it's a fairly narrow street, and it will be one of the access into this new plan. There'll be a connection onto Churchill and then eventually a connection over to the Miller property. The challenge is the street is very narrow. At its widest, it's 17 feet. For the most part, it is 14 feet. Here you can see a township vehicle parked there. Probably even more dramatic is this, where it is 7 feet from the edge of that tire to the inside of that curb. So, as a practical matter, it's not possible to pass two cars there, particularly when what you're talking about is a plan that is going to be of significant size behind it. So what the township staff believes...
Excuse me 1 second.
Yes.
Mr. Lauer, where exactly is Barnett Street on this map?
It is it's this right here. So you're
Gotcha.
coming up off of
Okay.
Venetia Road into this plan
Okay.
this way.
So the other egress is going to be...
Out this way.
Out that way.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So, it's our thought that what makes sense to do is to make Barnett Street a one-way street.
Which
That
way?
It would end, so that when you wanted to come back to Venetia Road, you'd be coming down Churchill, and this is an intersection that certainly has good sight distance. So this would become one way in.
So that resident that has the house at the corner,
Is going to make a turn this direction and go out this way.
and if
When would that
we
be?
notified, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it would be
effective until you have the plan.
Yeah, that's right.
Because there's
Until the
not going to be a
plan is-
road, they won't be able to get out.
Well, and again, all we're talking about tonight is trying to get a consensus from council is whether this is the way you want to proceed.
How big's our right-of-way on that road now? Our legal right-of-way?
I don't have that exact answer, but it's, I want to say,
A lot of those streets down in Hackett were private streets, so they were platted a long time ago, and I think a lot of them only have a 25-foot right-of-way, which is obviously a lot less than standard. This one might have 33,
I don't think so, because look up here.
Well, that was going to be my question. Is it even really reasonable to use that as a means of access into the development?
well, it has to be because it's being crossed over in part of the plan. Westbury crosses over.
Right.
And I think it's a one-way street. I think this is certainly wide enough.
So the residents have been notified?
Residents have been notified. I don't know whether there's any residents in the audience.
I don't see any. There are only 6 total residents that use it now.
Okay.
And did you say that
One of the 6 had no problem with it. We haven't heard from the other 5.
But this is going to be, for this road will ultimately be used for ingress to the plan.
Yes.
But it won't be the primary manner of ingress, right? The primary manner of ingress would be from Churchill Road.
Yes. I think this is the way most people are going to enter this plan, is this way.
Okay. I don't have a problem with it.
I don't think we have
Makes
a-
sense.
I don't think you have a choice.
What's the
I mean,
choice?
even if you had a 33-foot right-of-way, which I'm sure you don't,
You don't have much room.
right, you don't have that much, you'd end up tearing down garages and houses in order to put the road in the first place.
Yeah. The other thing that we're going to do, and it's in Ed's report, this street over here, Mervyn,
Yes.
we're going to acquire property so that in fact we can put a cul-de-sac on the end of the street. Because right now, this is another one of these narrow streets where the only way you can plow snow or do garbage removal is actually go up and back out. So
And back out.
there's no way to get out of these streets. You can't turn around even. I mean, even that's the problem here. You can't turn around on this street right now. So
Okay.
How do we plow it then? How do we plow it?
forward and back.
And back it out?
Yeah.
On to Venetia Road.
On the Venetia Road.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
It will eventually come back to you because for it to be a one-way street takes action of council. So
Next is payroll and bills.
Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed the payroll and bills. I find them to be in order. I make a motion that we approve the same.
Second.
Anybody have any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 6-0. Do you want to mention the items under correspondence?
No.
We have two. All right.
Freestanding stuff.
Just one is a letter from EQT notifying us that there's is this an additional well?
Yeah, another well permit.
Permit for Union Township. Okay.
Are we getting any comments with regard to the sound level? I mean, there have been
Yes.
some times.
Get a lot of calls.
Yeah.
Are you? Which site is it?
The one that I think is in Nottingham.
Yeah.
That's what you might rush.
There's Nottingham Wells, I get comments on truck traffic on Venetia
Yeah.
Road.
It's noise.
Yeah, what we're getting is noise at night. You know, when all the other noises calm down, people are hearing that hum.
I went out Venetia Road to whatever the road is where you cut over to 70, and I followed a caravan of 12 water trucks, all going 5 miles an hour.
I noticed down in, excuse me, I believe they were coming out where the well pad was behind the landscaper there, coming out with a escort in front of them and turning to the right northbound out that road like a caravan, but with an escort out in front of them. Maybe it was a reaction to trying to keep the traffic slowed down? You know, those safety guys have been sitting there. Well, this is the first time I've ever seen him go out with about 4 or 5 trucks following him.
From what I heard this past week, I guess they're staging their water at that A&S pad for a frac that's going on down somewhere off 519. So they're probably just taking the caravan, shall we say, so many trucks at a time.
Okay. Minutes, does anybody have any comments on the various board minutes that are in the docket this meeting? Hearing none. We have a miscellaneous item, Peters Township zoning hearing board request.
Yeah, so what we're going to be doing on a monthly basis at this first meeting of the month is to give you a report on the zoning decisions from the prior month. And if in fact there are zoning hearing issues coming up, we'll let you know what they are. And so council will have an opportunity to take a position on those. So there are no items on the agenda for the December 18th. There was one decision made with regard to a variance request for a side yard variance. So.
All right.
The other thing is under miscellaneous, and as you will recall, council has authorized 2 easements across Arrowhead Trail. One of them for Mr. Robinson, so they bring utilities in to his property, and we have executed that, and I believe it's been recorded. The second one was to provide sanitary sewers across Arrowhead Trail to that property. That easement has not been executed, and the reason it hasn't been is I had requested that the easement incorporate language that says you can't trench across Arrowhead Trail without our permission. So their intention is to in terms of installing the sewers, to bore under the trail. Well, my point was, in the future, rather than have you tear it up by trenching, at the very least, you would require the permission of the township to trench. Sanitary Authority would prefer not to have that language in the easement. They point out the fact that they have 2 other easements across our trail where that language doesn't exist. My only concern is that if something happens that requires them to trench across that and they get to choose when to do that, you'll shut down Arrowhead Trail. I don't know whether that's a big deal or not, but.
Oh, I think it would be a big deal. I mean, trail's used constantly. So I don't understand why they'd be reluctant to do this.
I don't know either, because, even when I talked to Enoch, his point is, well, we would most likely trench, that we're going to put a sleeve in so that the pipe will be in a sleeve, and so therefore when we go to maintain it, we don't have to do that. But he says, we just don't want that restriction in there. I said, well,
we do.
we do.
Well, where are the other two easements across the trail, do you know?
One of them's actually, I think it's a different situation. It's Montour Trail. If you ever go out towards the horse farm, you notice it dips down. Well, at one point in time, we gave them an easement to get across there, and they actually did major excavation to be able to put that in there. As far as I'm concerned, that's in a different situation, because that's part of the Montour Trail. It's a part of Arrowhead Trail. And if you're closing down anything, you're closing down the Montour Trail. The other one sits over near Sugar Camp Road. It was the easement that was given to be able to get up to the farm, so to get out that way. But again, that is at a location and such that I don't think, as a practical matter, that's going to come into play. On this place where we're talking about this, you're talking smack across the trail.
Well, not only that, anytime you excavate, I don't care how they backfill it, there's always a chance you're going to have a little bit of settlement, and then you have a natural or unnatural speed bump, if you will.
So how are you
in the
going to
trail.
resolve this?
Well, the way we're going to resolve it, it's the township
We're in a
granting an
Mexican
easement,
standoff.
so here's, I think we can just dictate what the language is, and if they choose not to accept the easement, I guess Mr. Robbins is going to have a problem, but I find it hard to believe that the sanitary authority isn't going to accept an easement with language. It simply says you need to request permission to trench, because, one of the things I told him was, I think everybody here would recognize that if you had, because that sewer line could eventually serve more than just one home. If you had a situation where there was a health hazard being created by virtue of the fact something's happened to that line, and the only way to resolve it is to trench it, we're not going to say no. But by the same token, I don't think some point in the future, just for a matter of convenience, they should be trenching across the trail.
I agree.
All right. Anything else under miscellaneous by anyone? I know we talked today, Mr. Lauer, about the Thomas Road situation, which is it's pretty bad.
It's real bad.
I mean, it seems like that stretch of icy road conditions is
getting
growing.
Yes, I would agree.
It's getting longer.
We're going to be meeting with PennDOT on Friday. We're going to talk to them about it there, but we have a list of things that we need PennDOT to be paying attention to next year. So.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on the miscellaneous?
Also, you need to look at the intersection where Robin Hood Lane, as you come, and I can't think of the street now, when Robin Hood makes Canterbury, right. Mark and I have talked about this, where you make that hard right there in the mornings, and my wife talks about this because that's her shortcut to work every morning, is when it freezes, that's a sheet of ice entirely through there.
We have identified 35 places where we're having water on the road freezing.
Yeah, and that one became really bad this summer, I noticed. Like out of nowhere, all of a sudden, it just...
And just to update you, Public Works was out last week, and they tested the water, and sometimes we get false chlorine tests, but it did, the little packet turned pink, so we think it might be a water line leak too, so we called PA American. Because the edge of the road there is all dipped in too, as if it's been saturated for some time. So we're looking into that. Problem with that particular one, there's just nowhere to take the water. You're on top of the hill, there's no storm sewers available to tie into, so worst comes to worst, we are paving that section of Robin Hood next year, so we can always install some storm sewers and address it, but it's going to be a tough one to deal with. Unless it's a water line leak, would actually be good for us, and they could come in and repair it.
Anybody have anything for the agenda next meeting, which is next Monday? Yes. Our back-to-back sessions here. Hearing none?
We have an executive session.
What?
We have an executive session.
It's not on here. All right. Well, otherwise, this meeting is adjourned.